Hello everyone. So in this video we will discuss about complexometric titration. In one of my previous videos I discussed about redox titration. We know that there are various types of titration. Let us go ahead with a pre-cap and then we can go ahead with what is complexometric. So I hope you remember that titration is just a method in which we allow the titrant and analyte to react together in order to find out the concentration of analyte present in the solution. And by principle, there are four types of titration. However, by method, we have three types: simple titration, double titration, and a back titration. By principle, we know when acid and base neutralizes each other, that gives you the end point. When reduction and oxidation takes place simultaneously, that is one more another type of titration. You may refer my video based on redox titration. Then there is a complexometric titration where we are going to discuss it today. So I'm just skipping it. And then there is a precipitation titration wherein at the end point we observe a precipitate and on that basis we find the end point. So let us go ahead by complexometric titration. Obviously, complexometric titration means at the end there'll be a complex formation at the end point. So here the titrant and analyte are different. Like titrant here is EDTA, which is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, and the analyte is nothing but a hardness. The hardness, I hope you remember, it's soap consuming capacity. The water does not give leather with soap properly due to the presence of dissolved salts of calcium and magnesium. So when it does not give leather, we call that water as hard. I have posted a separate video on hardness, so you can refer that. So today we need to find out how much hard the water is. So how much calcium magnesium ions are present in it, and that too in the category of temporary permanent also. So I hope you remember that by temporary we mean that the hardness is quite temporary in nature, because it is because of the ions called bicarbonates and carbonates of calcium and magnesium, and since they are very unstable they can be easily removed by boiling. You can simply heat the water and get them converted into their respective precipitate. So that is how this kind of hardness is quite temporary in nature. While on the other hand, if the salts are not bicarbonate and carbonate, so except those salts, if chloride, sulfate, nitrate are there, they are quite permanent in nature and they are not easily removed. So you have to use either zeolite, lime soda or ion exchange resin in order to remove those hardnesses. If you see on the reaction, this is zeolite and then there is exchange of the hardness, and that's it. So now these ions are anions are quite anionic. Anions are quite basic. That is why they are also known as alkaline hardness, while the permanent hardness is known as non-alkaline hardness. So going ahead with the apparatus are the same: burette, pipette, flask and beaker and all. While the chemicals, we are going to use EDTA as a titrant and EBT as an indicator. EBT is eriochrome black tea. So eriochrome black tea is a blue color dye which we are going to use today as an indicator. Ammonia buffer is nothing but to keep the pH constant, we need a ammonia buffer. We need to maintain it around 10. So we are using a basic buffer, basic weak base salt with a strong acid. So that is why we are using ammonia buffer and hard water obviously to find out the hardness. Let us go ahead by the reaction and the process together. So if I have to pipette out 10 ml of the water, and then if I add 2 ml of buffer solution to it, the buffer will maintain the pH. Then I have to add 2 drops of indicator to it, which is EBT. As I said, EBT is a blue color dye. So as soon as you enter it in the conical flask, the color changes to wine red. And now you have to obviously start titrating it with EDTA till you get a further color change. And this would be the end point which you can note later on. Now when you undergo this process, what reaction takes place is that the calcium magnesium ions are present in the water, and when you have added buffer to it, that means they are not going to react. A buffer, it does not react, it only maintains the pH. But when you added EBT to it, as I said, EBT is a ligand. It has a tendency to make a metal ligand complex. So a complex is formed. So EBT in its free state is blue in color, but as soon as you enter it in the conical flask, it reacts with those hardness, and when it reacts with the hardness, it comes in the anionic form, and in that form it is wine red in color. So you'll observe a wine red color in your conical flask. Now you start titrating it with EDTA. So at the very first drop, when you add EDTA to this, what happens is EDTA being a stronger ligand, it will start displacing this EBT from this complex. This complex is comparatively unstable. So it will start breaking this bond and it will start making its bond. So what happens is this reaction keeps on continuing and the EBT starts leaving behind in the conical flask. So you will observe that your wine red color complex is now, the wine red is changing to violet and like that, because this EBT starts becoming free and it will start giving its blue color in the flask. Well, tell me what happens at the last drop. At the last drop, the last of the complex gets break, and when it break, Mg reacts with EDTA while the EBT is left behind free in the beaker, and when it is free, all of the solution is becomes blue, because the EBT free in a neutral state is blue in color. So your principle says that it is a complexometric titration, because here the titrant, which is EDTA, and the analyte, which is hardness, they forms a complex. So at the end point, there is a stable complex formation between titrant and analyte, and that is why it is known as complexometric titration. However, the color comes because of the indicator. Here EDTA and hardness both are colorless. The color is changing because of the change in the EBT state. Earlier it was in an anionic state where it was in a complex form, so it was wine red in color, and at the end point it becomes free in the flask. It does not have anything to react with, so it becomes blue. Now from here only you will be able to understand that more of the hardness, more EDTA would be consumed, because ultimately EDTA is coming from the burette, right? So from the burette, when you are adding EDTA, EDTA is consumed in making complex with the hardness. So greater the hardness, greater would be the consumption of EDTA, and that is how you are going to find out the amount of hardness using EDTA. So coming to the process, you have to take tap water, which is nothing but your sample one. This, if you titrate, you will get the total hardness of the sample. But my aim is to find out temporary and permanent hardness as well. So what I can do is I can boil the water and filter the water. Now if I take that water and I titrate it with EDTA, the hardness temporary is already removed. So whatever result I'll get would be because of the permanent hardness. So that is how of the same sample I would be able to find out the total hardness, and after boiling, once I remove the temporary hardness, whatever is left is permanent hardness. And now if I want to know how much temporary hardness is present, I can subtract permanent from total to get this temporary. So that is how, with the help of these sample water and the boiled water, we are going to find out the three hardnesses present in it. In this beaker, you can hold your EDTA solution to fill in the burette. This is ammonia buffer and this is EBT indicator. Now let us start with, obviously you have to first take a pipette and rinse it. Take burette and rinse it. So just use a funnel, rinse it properly with the water, and then rinse it with EDTA and fill the burette with EDTA. Let us start with filling your conical flask with the water. So last time I told you that we can use pipette pump for it. So you can see here and you can see here, the water level is rising here as you are moving this knob like this, right? So the water level is rising here, and at 0 point you have to stop it, and then you have to simply add it in the conical flask. So if you just leave that knob, your solution is ready in the conical flask. Now it is only having 10 ml of water. I guess you remember the next step is to add ammonia buffer solution here. So you have to just measure 2 ml of the ammonia buffer in the measuring cylinder, and you have to add it to your solution. Now if you can see your solution, now you are having water and buffer. So when you are adding buffer to it, that means you are making the pH 10, and I'll tell you later on why the pH 10 is required. Now next step, obviously I think you remember, now we have maintained the pH, we have to add 2 drops of EBT. So the color will immediately change as soon as I add EBT, I hope you remember, it becomes wine red because calcium EBT or magnesium EBT complex has been formed. So the moment EBT enters in the flask, it becomes wine red because the complex has been formed. That means your hardness is now locked in with respect to your EBT. Now your main process gets started. What you have to do is, the titration process says that from the left hand you have to adjust this knob, right? From the right hand you have to hold the mouth of the conical flask in order to stir it continuously. And now you just observe at the bottom. The moment you observe a color change, you have to immediately stop adding EDTA from the burette. Now you observe it, see the colors are changing from violet and now it is blue. I have stopped adding and I'm just stirring it continuously in order to see whether the reaction is properly complete or not, whether there is a tinge of wine red still or not. Now you can see it's perfect blue. So what is happening is, from wine red to blue is, I hope you remember, there is a complex formation, right? So now if you go ahead with what happened is wine red to violet and violet to blue, this was the final change of the color. So what is happening is, in this, EBT is getting free, and the moment you start adding EDTA, EBT will remain free. So the blue color get intensifies, and at the last drop entire EBT is free and entire hardness is locked with your EDTA. So now you have to note the reading of the burette, and let's see. If you note the reading of the burette, in the last video, if you remember, in the redox titration, I told you that if the solution is colorless, you have to find out the reading of lower meniscus. Now if you see the reading here or you see the reading here, which one is to be considered is obviously this lower one, which is 2.4 ml. Now if you can see, this is 1 ml, this is 2 ml, this is 3, and this is 4. So like 1.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 2.1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5. So this is 2.4 ml. So we have to consider the lower meniscus. And now this is what you have to write here. Now if it is 2.4, I hope you remember that in pilot you have to round it off to the next integer. Now let's say I give you one more reading like this, wherein you have got the, sorry, it would be 2.3, and let's say you have got this reading again, and then one more time you have got this kind of reading. So obviously when the two consecutive readings are same, you can take it as a concordant reading. Now if you substitute here, you are going to get 240 ppm as the answer. Now assuming this is standard calculation, 1 ml of standard EDTA consumes 1 milligram of calcium carbonate. This is quite standard. If you consider 1000 ml of 1 molar EDTA, it actually reacts with 100 gram of calcium carbonate, because 100 is the molecular weight. Now if you go down to 1 ml, obviously you have to go down here also, so divided by like 1000, and then if you go down to 0.01 molar, and if you change it, it would be like 0.001, or you may call it as 1 milligram of calcium carbonate. So that is how you got this particular reaction, that 1 ml of standard EDTA consumes 1 milligram of calcium carbonate. So this is how you can simply see that this 2.4 ml EDTA reacts with 2.4 mg of CaCO3, and now this much hardness was only present in 10 ml because you have pipetted out 10 ml. So if 10 ml contains this much, how much would be in the 1000 ml? Because ultimately milligram per liter is the unit of hardness. I hope you remember. Otherwise I'm just posting a link here. You may go there to see what are the units of calculation of hardness. So now 1 milligram per liter is 1 ppm, and you can write it as 240. Now if you go on, you will get this total hardness, and the titration 2 is the boiled water. So now if you take a boiled water sample and if you continue doing the titration, you will get the reading. Now I hope you understand. Now this time temporary hardness is removed, so the permanent hardness would be lesser than the total hardness. So the reading here would be lesser, and let's say if you got this reading here 1.3 2 times, so you may safely take that reading as concordant, and then If you substitute, you will get 130. Now this would be your permanent hardness. So I hope you remember, here you got 240, here you get 130. So at the end, if you want to report the result, you can write it in this manner, wherein this would be the answer if I want to calculate the temporary hardness. So this is how you're going to calculate the hardness. Now the major thing which you want to make sure is that when you're using 10 ml of water, you are adding buffer to it. I said a buffer is required. So first of all, why buffer is required? Because I want to make the pH constant, because in the water there may be changes in the pH due to presence of other ions. Why I want the buffer to be at 10? Because right now it is a complexometric titration, right? So I am using a ligand here, I am using a ligand here. This was the overall reaction, right? So if you remember, ethylene diamine, diamine would be like this, and tetraacetic acid would be like this. Now if you want this to react with your hardness, obviously there will be a bond formation. So let's say if calcium is the ion, what do you think? It can react with nitrogen. So when EDTA behaves as a bidentate ligand, both nitrogens get involved. At the same time, it can behave as tetradentate ligand when all of the 4 oxygens are involved. And if all 6 are involved, it is a hexadentate ligand. So if I want this complex to be strong, it has to behave in a hexadentate or a tetradentate manner in order to hold that ion, obviously. Now here what we take is a disodium salt of EDTA, because EDTA is not dissolved in water as such, and that is why we have to take a disodium salt of EDTA. So now if you want that particular reaction to become like this complex to become stable, and the EBT complex to become unstable, so for that I need it to be a basic medium. I need it to be around 10, a basic medium, because if it is acidic, it will be like HH here, and then they will not react with calcium, and your complex become weaker, hexa to tetra to bi. So the role has to be stronger, and at the same time EBT should behave weaker. So for that to take place, you need to add buffer in the starting in order to maintain the environment of water as such. So the moment you add buffer, your environment is quite basic. Now when the EBT enters in the water, it knows how to behave. It knows how to behave, in the sense have to make a weaker complex. And the moment EDTA enters in the conical flask, since the medium is basic, it knows how to behave. It has to make a stronger complex, and that is why we use ammonia buffer, and that too around pH 10. I hope you are able to get it. And now if I ask you to convert or report the result in degree French, I think you will be easily able to do it, because like 1 ppm, if I want to convert 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 5 for French, I have to multiply it with 0.1. So this will become 11 degree French hardness. So I think you can keep on exploring all those numerical portions also. So with that, I think I was able to serve the purpose. So keep liking and subscribing, and do mention it in the comment section, what do you want in next. Thank you.